Karbohidrat pemulihan, karbohidrat pemulihan atau protein pemulihan?
Mereka nggak pernah rumah sakit apa Palembang mau dibilang direktur yang langsung nggak bisa rumah sakit Palembang itu nggak pernah dipakai orang itu jadi tempat PKL. Jadi di mana Palembang?
Iya, makanya kata Dini kapan dia? Iya, sama sedikit kami bilang.
Suaramu. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in the I am Siti Basariah Putri to be here of ceremony. The Honorable Basari as our keynote speaker, Dr. Hasin MP, as the faculty, the art needed director. Okay, on this special event, we have agendas.
Udah pakai headset. Oh, udah masuk di sana.
I'm sorry. Miss Maria Omega?
Ya,
Mic?
ya.
Can you please, ma'am? Sorry to all participants, please mute your microphone. Okay. Okay, the Honorable Secretary today, the Honorable Doctor of Agriculture Faculty, Naga, the head of on this as follows. The first second faculty. The third is the third action is continued by questions because the segment last.
Okay, this is matter. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum
Sorry,
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
there's and
Yeah, I cannot hear you.
yes, please, Mr.
Okay.
Hasanuddin.
Yeah, okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning to everyone. I hope God will together for us to take care of our healthy today, especially in dealing with COVID-19. I'm grateful to be able to meet you today, even though virtually. But this meeting, we hope there is always a chance for us to get the benefit. Today, we are grateful to be able to carry out one of the world-class university program activity in the form of a visiting professor. And we are grateful that today we meet for the second time in this week with a food science expert we already know, namely Professor Desbandry from the School of Agriculture Science and Food Agriculture Science and Food University of Queensland, Brisbane, Australia. Thank you, Prof. Desbandry, for this willingness to attend the second time and become a guest lecturer at the Department of Food Science, Faculty of Agriculture, University of North Sumatra, Indonesia. Thank you, Dr. Adinda and team as the head of the Food Science Master Program who has prepared this visiting professor activity today. And thanks for all the invitation lecturer and student who have participated in this activity. The topic we will discuss today is controlling the crystallization of sugar in resin. I think I will not go into the long review of this topic. Let us share information about this topic from the expert. Although our discussion today will provide new experience for all of us, especially students who are present in this class. As a dean of the faculty, I officially open the second visiting professor program today. Hopefully, we can take advantage of all the meeting and discussion today. Thank you again, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for Mr. Hasanuddin for the great speech. And to continue our events, the next agenda is praying that will be brought by Mr. Adrian Hillman. To Mr. Adrian, time is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Siti Basaria. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone here. Let us bow our head for a moment, pray to God Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala so that our world-class university program activity today can be precious to all of us. I will lead this prayer based on the teaching of Islam, and those who are not Muslims, you are pleased to pray according to each of your beliefs. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin, assalatu wassalamu ala asrofil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Ya Allah, today, Friday, 11 December 2020, in this virtual meeting, we gather here to bring about a world-class university program activity. Make this activity as a useful science assembly, as a medium of sharing useful ideas, knowledge, and experiences of scholars, researchers, and students of various disciplines. May this activity we organize today benefit to our life, broaden our knowledge, shine our ideas, and lead us to be successful, productive persons, which in turn will boost dignity of our nations. Ya Allah, guide and bless our hearts and our minds with the light of your guidance. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities. Help us to speak out our minds clearly. Help us to listen to each other, respect each other, love each other so that we are included to the blessed persons. Ya Allah, protect us from unintended temptation, show us the right path, and give us knowledge and strength to perform good things equally, so as and make it clear the bad things, and give us knowledge and strength to avoid them. Ya Allah, you are the one who can fulfill our prayer. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah, wa fil akhirati hasanah, wa qina adzabannar. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wassalamun ala mursalin. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Thank you.
Thank you. Amin, amin, ya rabbal alamin. Thank you for Mr. Adrian. Hopefully our event today will be blessed by the God. Okay, before we move to the main event, in this beautiful moment, let's take some photograph. Because all of that, please, to all participants, please turn on the camera because we're gonna take some pictures. Okay. Okay, on my count. 3, 2, 1, say cheese. Okay, once again, say cheese. Thank you so much. Okay, It is now with my pleasure to continue our event to the main agenda today, the lecture by our keynote speaker, Professor Bas Bandari. But for this segment, I'll give to Mrs. Hotnida. To Mrs. Hotnida, time is yours.
Thank you, Siti. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us again in the World Class University program. It's very happy to meet nearly 200 registered participants from many places in Indonesia and also overseas. So we say hello to participants from Universitas Sahkuala, Universitas Sumatera Utara, HKBP Nomensen, Universitas Riau, Bangka Belitung, Universitas Diponegoro, Universitas Brawijaya, Universitas Widya Mandala Surabaya, Poltekkes Palangkaraya, Universitas Prima Indonesia, Universitas Papua, and also I can see Malik Adil from Melbourne, Australia. Where's Malik is here. How are you, Malik?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Okay. Okay, so he's from Melbourne. Maybe from other university that I haven't mentioned before. So sorry about that. Today we will listen a presentation delivered by Professor Bas Bandari. But firstly, let me read his biography. Dr. Bas Bandari is Professor of Food Processing Technology and Engineering at the University of Queensland. Professor Bandari's primary approach to research is applying fundamental science and engineering principles on developing a relationship between process, structure, property, and performance of food material systems. Professor Bandari has been collaborating his research activities in USA, Iran, Malaysia, India, France, Vietnam, and China. Professor Bandari is the recipient of several international awards and listed as highly cited researcher in his field by Web of Science in 2020, 2019, and Thomson Reuters in 2015. Professor Bandari has authored more than 450 papers, 40 book chapters, and 8 books. His works are cited close to 20,000 times with a H index of 72. Professor Bandari is an inventor of several patented technologies. Professor Bandari is an editor-in-chief of Future Food Journal and an editor of Journal of Food Engineering. Today, Prof. Bandari will present an interesting topic entitled Controlling the Crystallization of Sugar in Raisins, Farm to Fundamentals. Time is yours, please, Beth.
Thank you very much, Hapnida. I'll just share my file. Okay. Thank you, Hapnida, and I would also like to thank Dr. Hasanuddin, who gave some welcoming talk just earlier. And also, I would like to welcome all the participants for this presentation. Last time I presented something different on drawing of food emulsions. Today, I'm going to present on controlling the crystallization of sugar in raisins, farm to fundamentals. in fact, this work was done in collaboration with the research institution in Chile, or Chile, and also University of Valparaiso in Chile, and the University of Queensland. So it is very practical type of project. So, and although I'm going to present on resins, but it has got some similarity with other product of other fruit products where the crystallization happens. For example, here I have shown like a honey as well. So the same principle applies to honey or other food product. So even though I may be a little bit more focusing on resins, but that same principle applies to other food products as well. So many of you may not know what is resins, but I have just picked up from the website that in Indonesian, I think we tell it kismis. Is it right? Yeah, that's kismis. So now you may be knowing what does it mean. So, you know, like although we don't know the issue with kismis, we eat it, but there are certain commercial aspect of kismis, quality of kismis, you know. So we should be aware of that one as well, which can be applied to other fruits, dried fruits. Okay, just to show that the project, what we started in Chile. So Australia, you can see the Australian map over here, and Chile just over here, Chile, you know, it's very far away. Now Chile is just like a Chile, you know, like it's like very long country shape. It's like almost like a Chile, and the name is also Chile. So you can see it's very far away. So we are joining together for this project. Actually, they are not that far. If you take other side of the world, you know, you can go from Australia to Chile directly. So they are located in the same latitude, in fact, you know, just takes about 12, 13 hours to travel from Sydney to Santiago in Chile. So it's not that really far, you know. So if you can see Australia, and Indonesia is somewhere here, it's very close, of course, but it's almost like a double the distance from Brisbane to Chile. So, but it's the important thing is that they are in the same latitude. So same latitude means that it is south of the Mediterranean line. So that means that it's a similar weather, you know, like a, so they have got very similar type of weather, and of course the climate. So just giving some picture of the resin production or dried grapes. It's the same, you know, dried grapes is called resin. Just keep in mind. The Turkey is the highest producer of resins, and comes United States, China. But when you look at Chile, it produces about 60,000 tons, you know, and Australia is 1/3, in fact. And the important aspect in Chile is that 98.5% of the resins are exported from Chile to mostly to EU, you know, European countries. And 50% of the dried grapes or resins are produced in Valparaiso region in Chile. And same thing in Australia, 98% of the grapes are produced in this region, you know, which is called Mare Valley region, very small pocket, okay? Actually, this region is very dry, very sunny, which is the perfect condition to grow the grapes. So this is the region where it is grown and produce dried fruit. As I mentioned, that this is the Chile, you know, just in parallel there is Australia. So they have got similar weather because they are just south of south of the equator line. So they have got the similar weather, similar temperature. And the best weather for the making dried grapes is very low rain. There should not be much rain, and it should be very warm and dry weather condition, and there should be a good irrigation facility. And this region in Australia and that region in Chile meets that criteria. So the grape varieties to produce raisins are Thompson seedless, flame varieties, sun muscat, and currant varieties. There are a couple of varieties, so they are preferred varieties. And normally they have got a very high sugar level, 22-25% bricks in the fresh condition, that very high sugar content. And they should have thicker skin because, for drying, and if it has thin skin, it may break during drying. So these varieties have got thick skin. And dried grapes, when you dry them, the sugar content will be more than 70%, about 82 to 87% solid. That means about 18% moisture content. So that grape, like that variety of the grape is dried to raisins, or the dried grape form. There are different drying technologies used. I'm not talking about whole drying, but it's just giving you some picture how it is done. Normally, sun drying is the most common one. It could be done in tray, trellis, or in open field. So that's the tray drying. That's the mechanical drying. The other method is mechanical drying or hot air drying, and also the open field drying. That's in Chile, how they dry. That's in US, and that's in Afghanistan. You see, Afghanistan or Turkey produce large amount of these dried grapes. That's how they dry on the field, sun drying. It's very interesting to know how it is done. So before the project started, I visited the region in Australia, where they grow this grape for drying. So I flew from Brisbane, my place, to this place, and at that moment there was no grape production. It was not the right season to grow the grape, but I could see the tree, like the bush where they grow the grapes. And I met with the grower, he's the farmer who grows this produces these dried grapes. Of course, he has to grow the grapes. And I met Marking, who is the president of Dried Fruit Australia. So they took me around and showed me how it is done, even though I could not see the crop, but I could see where it is grown and visit number of places. That was very interesting. At the same time, during the same visit, during the same project, I visited Chile as well. That's Valparaiso region. So beautiful. You can see the Chile where they grow the grapes, So, they have got growing up grapes over here. And remember that these grapes are produced to make the dried grape, as well as to make the wine, and also table grapes. So when I visited Chile, there were other visitors as well. They are the academics from other countries. And I don't know if you know Professor Sahidi. Yeah, you can see Professor Sahidi just up here. So we visited. So now it helped me to understand where it is grown, how it is grown, what are the different practices making resins. So it became very clear, gave me the very clear picture how the dried grapes are made. So one of the interesting thing is that to dry this drink, that's called trellis drying. These grapes, trellis drying. Trellis means like the support, like they dried on the tree itself. To dry on the tree, in fact, what they do is the branch which carries the fruit, they are cut, they are cut, and they are left hanging in the tree. So when they are cut, that means they are dead. you know, that the branch is dead. So then fruit will dry on the sun. Takes about 2 to 3 weeks to 3 to 4 weeks to dry to 16 to 18% moisture level. So when the moisture level reaches to 16 to 18%, then they are harvested. When they are harvested, it's mechanically harvested. You can see the dried fruit, and there is some kind of machine goes there. It shakes the tree, you know, it shakes the tree, vibrates, and there is a trolley on the back, and all the fruits drop on the trolley, you know, so they can they recover the fruit, or they collect the tree fruit on the trolley. So that's how they harvest. So this is called trellis drying. This is very original of Australian technology. When they harvest at 16 to 18% moisture, but that moisture is not acceptable to go to the processing plant. They have to dry to less than 13% moisture from 18% moisture. So what they do is they do finish drying by either sun drying or normally hot air drying. You know, it's called flatbed drying. Using this bed, just put those dried and harvested raisins at 18% moisture and dry down to 13% moisture. So when it is 13% moisture, then only they can sell to resin processing factory. They will not accept more than 13% moisture, because during processing, actually the moisture goes up to 18%, because after processing, during the processing, what they do, it goes through a lot of cleaning, washing process. Actually, when they produce the resins in the for the commercial purpose, retail purpose, the moisture is 18%. So when they wash the resin and make it very clean, moisture goes back to 18. But when farmers sell, they have to sell at 13% moisture. So, and when I talked to the farmers, it was very interesting that sometime, you know, like when they are drying it, if it in case it rains, it should be very dry weather during that time, but sometime, you know, it may rain. So what happens when it rains? When it rains, that resins which were drying on the trellis, they get brown. That browning happens because of the Maillard reaction. You may know that. So if it rains, that very nice resin becomes brownish, you know, so it's not desirable, but still they can sell it. It's a little bit browning, but the color changes because of the reweighting of the dried resin on the tree. And then the resins which farmers sell, it's processed, and the moisture, when the farmers sell 13% moisture, but when it is processed, the moisture content goes up to 18% because it goes through a lot of washing process. I'm not going to show that one. So that's the very clean, because when you dry, there is a lot of dust, maybe not a lot of dust, but there could be some dust. There are stalks, there are leaves, there's so many things. They have to really clean it properly and wash it very nicely. And at the end, when they process it, the moisture goes up to 18% naturally. And also they put a little bit of oil as well to prevent sticking of the resins. So at the end, you have got this sort of pack for the retail market. Now, actually, that's how it is produced. Okay, but there is a problem, especially in Chile, that when they market the product, everything they do, there is a crystallization of sugars. Okay, so that's what it happens. The normal resin should have this sort of appearance. You know, after a month or something, you know, sometime, you know, you can see sugar crystallizes on the surface and looks very unattractive. It looks like a moldy, the texture changes, doesn't look nice. So that was the problem in chili. That's what they wanted to prevent this one. Actually, in Australia, there is not much problem. So we have to find out why there is no problem in Australia, why there is a problem in Chile, and how you prevent this one. So that was the project, in fact. So that's what it happens. The project is very unattractive. That happens because of the glucose crystallization. Glucose is part of the sugar. I'll just go through that one in following slides. But that's because of the sugar crystallization. Even though it looks moldy, dirty, dusty, but it's not. It's a sugar. It's a natural component. And it's not only in the resins, it happens in date as well. If you have come across some date, you have got white, powdery stuff, moldy stuff at the top. Actually, that is sugar crystallized. And in pig also, you can see this sort of sugar crystallization. In honey, you can see honey crystallizes. It's the same phenomena, same mechanism, same sugar crystallizes in all these products. So even though I'm talking about these resins, but that same thing happens in other fruits and also in honey. You can see this is I took from the picture. I think you are more aware of dried figs in Indonesia because that's sold in Indonesia. It's a superfood in Indonesia. You can see that the fig sold in Indonesia, that you have got these white specks, which looks very moldy. It doesn't look nice. So why it happens? How you prevent that one? Not in pig, but the project was in resins. So first, to understand this one, you have to understand the mechanism, how it happens, why it happens, and then go through the solution. So that was the actually project. So first, you have to understand the composition of resins. Actually, resins has got 18% moisture. Fructose is 36%. Glucose is about 39%. Sucrose is 3.2%. If you look at the composition of honey, it's almost similar. Moisture is similar, 17, 18. Fructose is 38, about close to. Glucose is 30, Sucrose is same composition, almost like a honey and resins, they have got similar composition. So if there is a crystallization in resins, the same mechanism happens in honey as well. So honey and resins, they have got similar composition. It was good to know, So even though they are two different products, but they have similar composition. So now you have to assume some kind of hypothesis based on the composition and other factors. What are the potential factors of crystallization? So you have to assume one thing is composition, glucose to fructose ratio, and glucose to moisture ratio. We know that it's the glucose which crystallizes because fructose doesn't crystallize. Glucose is least soluble in water. It's not as soluble, and it crystallizes faster than fructose. It's the glucose solubilizes. So because there is a glucose and fructose, sugar, the ratio of glucose to fructose, that will influence the crystallization of glucose. Same thing, glucose to moisture ratio. If there is a lot of glucose and less moisture, there is a chance of glucose crystallization because of oversaturation of glucose. Okay, so these are the very important potential factor of crystallization. Of course, water activity and moisture content. So if water activity is very low, moisture is very low, it may crystallize. So, but if it is really low, then it may not crystallize as well. So there is optimum condition of the water activity and moisture which can promote the crystallization of glucose. And another aspect is glass transition or phase transition properties are related to other factors. I'm not going through this one. It's a bit more fundamental work. And the actual practical condition, storage temperature, is another factor. The low temperature can promote nucleation. If you store at low temperature, always changes are very slow because crystal will not grow, but it will promote the nucleation. So that's storage temperature could be the factor. And also another factor could be damaged skin. So because we can see that the sugar crystallizes on the surface, So we have to assume that is there any damaging of the skin of the resins so that the sugar crystallizes at the top. So it may cause the damage of the skin may be caused during handling, harvesting, and during drying as well. And that damage can cause the crystallization of sugar on the skin surface of the resins. Now, just going back to the crystallization mechanism, you know how it crystallizes. Crystallization involves two mechanisms. One is nucleation, another is crystal growth. Let us say these are the sugar molecules. Okay, sugar molecules. At the beginning of crystallization is nucleation. So during nucleation, number of sugar molecules combine together, aggregate, and form nucleates. So after nucleation, there will be a lot of nucleates, okay? And then these nucleates will grow slowly. So that's the growth of the crystal, this is the nucleation. So two aspects we have to understand, okay? So if you cannot prevent the crystallization, but we can control the size of the crystal as well, okay? Because a smaller crystal can give you a smooth product or jelly structure, it comes from a jelly structure. If you crystallize a large crystal, you get coarse texture. As for example, I showed you before honey crystallizes. These crystals are big, okay? They appear very unattractive. But if the crystals are very, very small, it may not matter. So that means that if you can control the crystallization, okay, control the nucleation, it is possible that even though there are crystals, then if you can control the size of the crystal, the product quality will not be influenced that much. So it's important to control the crystal size. Okay, so if you have got a lot of nucleus, okay, there will be large number of crystals, but very, very small crystals. If there are bigger crystals, it's not only the gives coarse texture, it can also pierce the plant tissues during their growth and then damage the structure of the product. So one of the important aspect, even though I'm talking about the glass transition here, this will be a little bit difficult to understand. Since crystallization has got two stages, first is nucleation, another is crystal growth. Actually, we have to understand that lower temperature promotes nucleation. Nucleation rate is very high at lower temperature, but crystal growth is high at higher temperature. So if you can nucleate at lower temperature, you can create a lot of nucleates, okay, at lower temperature. But if you want to grow the crystal, you have to increase the temperature. Then only they will grow grow faster. Lower temperature limits the crystal growth. There's a lower temperature, higher temperature, you see. The crystal growth is low at lower temperature, but nucleation is high. So if you can control nucleation by nucleating at lower temperature, and also you can control the crystal growth, or even you allow the crystal growth grow at higher temperature, then you can control total crystallization of the product. It's not necessarily with resins, but it applies to all the product. So if you can hold the product at lower temperature, there is a lot of nucleation formation, a lot of small nucleus created. Then it doesn't matter if you hold it at high temperature, those nucleus will grow, but they will not grow as big crystal, because there are so many nucleus. So there is not much enough material to grow. So because they are distributed to very, very small crystals, crystal nucleus. So one of the things that we have to keep in mind that if you want to create very, very small crystal, you have to hold it at lower temperature. If you want to grow fast, then you have to hold it at a higher temperature. So these are the things that we should keep in mind. Other thing is to understand the crystallization, you have to understand the physical chemistry of the concentrated sugar mixture system. Okay, So one of the things that, as I mentioned before, that fruit and honey sugars are a mixture of glucose and fructose. In fact, they have got sugar. It's a mixture of glucose and fructose, or sometimes we call them invert sugars. Okay, invert sugars. The solubility of glucose in water is much less than fructose. Solubility is less, so there is more tendency of glucose to crystallize. Okay, so when the product gets concentrated or dried, okay, it supersaturates the glucose, and then it supersaturates, glucose crystallizes out. Fructose also solubilizes the glucose. Fructose is very difficult to crystallize. The solubility is very high. Solubility is very, very high. And so fructose doesn't crystallize. Actually, fructose can solubilize some of the glucose, because when it is in liquid state, it can prevent the glucose crystallization as well. So that means if there is a lot of fructose, then it may prevent or inhibit the glucose crystallization as well. So you have to understand the mechanism when there is a mixture of fructose and glucose. So since it's not a single component system, so people have tried how you predict the crystallization of glucose in product where there is a lot of glucose and fructose, such as honey or this sort of fruit. So one of the aspect was glucose to water ratio. So when there is a lot of glucose, less water, if it is the ratio is less than 1.7, there is no granulation, means no crystallization. If it is more, that means glucose is more, so the ratio is more than 2, then there is a fast granulation. Same thing, fructose to glucose ratio in the composition. If the fructose to glucose ratio is more than 1.33, that means that there is more fructose, less glucose. The fructose solubilizes glucose and inhibits the crystallization. Then there is no granulation. But if it is less than 1.1, that means less fructose, more glucose, then glucose crystallize. All these factors, the people have looked at it, that which is the best way of predicting. But in general, glucose to water ratio and fructose to glucose ratio are the best factor predicting the crystallization of glucose and fructose mixture. Now, applying same principle of glucose to fructose ratio or glucose to water ratio, we looked at it 3 varieties of Chilean raisins like Golden, Thompson, and Flame. They are the varieties from Chile, and then 2 varieties from Australia, Sultanas and Australian raisins, 2 varieties. And we have got different fructose to glucose ratios, natural composition, okay? So natural composition. So we can see that the potential of crystallization, if the glucose to water ratio is more than 2, that can crystallize, okay? You can predict that these 2 may crystallize, okay? Based on the fructose and glucose ratio, when the ratio is very low, less fructose means that less ratio, that means this has got potential to crystallize. This is the lowest ratio, 1.12. So just looking at the fructose to glucose ratio and glucose to water ratio, we can predict, we can guess that, okay, they may crystallize because there is less of that fructose to glucose ratio or more of glucose to water ratio. Same thing, one thing is, water activity is another factor, or the moisture content, okay? So the water activity is always less than 0.6. Same thing in honey as well. You have to remember that water activity is less than 0.6. That gives the best stability. So this is the Australian raisins, 0.45 is very, very low water activity. That means there is very little moisture. So that may be too hard, otherwise, the water activity is lower than 0.6. They are shelf-stable type of product. Just pointing out here that for best shelf life of dried fruits or even honey, the water activity has to be less than 0.6. Okay, water activity has to be less than 0.6 for the best stability of any dried fruit or even honey. So what is the effect of water activity and moisture on the surface crystal formation? So then we try to look at it. Is there any influence of the moisture or water activity on the surface crystal formation, crystallization process? Okay. So what we did is we calibrated the varieties like golden and Thompson varieties and flame variety, three different varieties. This is Chilean raisin varieties at different water activity conditions, 0.39, 0.53, 0.67, 0.74, different water activity condition. You can see that you can see here that you can see the visible crystal formation here. Here also a little bit, no crystal formation over here on the surface, but you can see visible crystal formation even in that variety. Okay, so you can see here, and also a little bit in this one. There is no crystallization here, and there is no significant crystallization towards that end because sometimes it is very too high water activity. You can see that this is very watery. It's not good. But you can see that these two water activities can promote the crystallization of that one. So just equilibrating at different water activity can show there is surface crystallization. It's very good understanding. So now we determine the danger zone. So if the water activity is about 0.53 to 0.7 or something, that's the danger zone. If the water activity, I don't know if you remember the water activity and relative humidity. Water activity and relative humidity, they are similar terminology. Relative humidity is expressed in percentage. Water activity is expressed in fraction. So let us say 0.6 water activity means 60% relative humidity. Okay, so this is the danger zone. So we determined, okay, these are the danger zones for the crystallization of sugar on the surface of the raisins. So one of the problem in Chile was that when they produce the raisins, they were perfect, and they export raisins to France. Okay, so and the raisins goes from Chile to France, takes a couple of months, 1 or 2 months. So what they have found, by the time it reaches to France, you can see surface crystallization. Why it is happening? They didn't know. Okay, why it is happening? They didn't know. Then we looked at the temperature condition. When they are transporting the raisins by ship from Chile to France, it was a summertime. The temperature in the Chile was about 25 degrees Celsius. Okay, when they transported, by the time it reached to France, temperature dropped to, let us say, 10-15 degrees Celsius. Okay, so the 25 degrees Celsius dropped to 15 degrees Celsius. So what happened there? So that promoted some kind of crystallization. So what was happening in Chile, let us say at 25 degrees Celsius, this is the psychrometric chart. I don't know how many of you are aware of this. So this is the psychrometric charts. Psychrometric chart shows that that's the condition in Chile. There was 50% relative humidity. Water activity of the resin was 0.5. So that means that in the head space of the resin pack, there was 50% relative humidity. So when it reached from Santiago in Chile to France, temperature was dropping to 15 degrees Celsius. So the head space relative humidity, because it's cooled down, relative to humidity at the head space became 90%. So the humidity, even though you didn't change the moisture content of the resins, okay, but the head space the relative humidity is changing from 50% to 90%. So when the same container cools down from 25 degree to 15 degrees Celsius, relative humidity at the head space of the enclosed container increases to 90%. So when it increases the 90%, this was safe zone, no crystallization. Now it is at 90%. That goes to the danger zone. 90% is over here. That exceeds the danger zone. So when it exceeds the danger zone, okay, that means there is a chance of sugar crystallization. Even though you didn't do anything, just fluctuating temperature can promote the crystallization, because head space humidity in the packet changed from 50% to 90% RH. Okay, so skin is exposed above danger zone until the moisture is equilibrated while cooling slowly. So just fluctuation of temperature promoted the crystallization. That's what we predicted, because we identified first that where are the danger zone. That was a very good outcome. Now we looked at, can you see on the surface, you can see the crystal, okay, on this on the surface of the resins. But when you look at the flesh, what happens inside? So still you can see these are crystals, those bright lights, just a simple microscope. Under the polarized light, if you put polarized lens at the bottom of the microscope, so you can see this sort of just a normal microscope, so you can see those bright lights. They are the crystals, okay? All these three were showing crystals under that danger zone. That means that it was visual with the microscope as well, even underneath, okay? So it was possible to see that crystals. Even in Australian sultanas, there were crystals. Actually, we did not see any surface crystal, and there was no problem of crystallization. Product was always good. It did not mean that there was no crystal, or there were no crystals. Actually, there were crystals even in Australian resins, but those crystals could have been very, very small. Okay, so it would have been crystallized during the condition of production in Australia. So those crystals could not grow on the surface. So even though there were crystals, they might have been very small crystals and not like growing on the surface. So you could see even in Australian sultanas, even at lower water activity, okay, even though they are under the danger zone, even though under the danger zone, you do not see the crystals on the surface. Now, what we did is we made, just to understand even more, we made model composition of resins and honey. Okay. Now what we did is make a sugar solution with fructose to glucose only. Because before we are talking about the product, resins or honey, but now we can make similar composition controlling fructose to glucose ratio, fructose glucose ratio 1.2, 1.4, and then moisture content, constant moisture content. You can mix glucose, you can mix glucose and fructose and make the solution, model solutions. Okay, so you can artificially create that sort of model solution and look at what happens during the crystallization. So we can work with the model solution to understand even more on the crystallization. So as I told you before, that the fructose to glucose ratio and glucose to water ratios are the most important potential factors. So we control the fructose to glucose ratio and glucose to water ratio to see how these ratios can influence the crystallization. At the same time, we took pure honey, okay, pure honey, and control the water activity of the honey and moisture content of the honey, and looked at the crystallization, how it happens. Okay, so this glass transition temperature, don't have to worry, because that's another fundamental thing. So I will not go through this one. It will be difficult to understand. Now we can see just visually with the fructose to glucose ratio 1, 1.2, 1.4. So fructose to glucose ratio is, there is a lot of glucose here, sorry, a lot of fructose here, less fructose, sorry, more fructose, and even more fructose. So if it is 1, you can see so many crystals. If you increase the fructose more, the less crystal. If you have got a lot of fructose to glucose 1.4, almost like a none, like very few crystals. So we can see how fructose to glucose ratio is controlling the crystallization of glucose. Remember that these crystals are glucose crystals because fructose doesn't crystallize. And looking at the effect of the glucose to water ratio, and the model compound. So as you increase the glucose content, there are more and more crystals, and here you don't show more crystals, but they have grown very big. Here tiny crystals, but they are grown very big crystal. So if there is a more glucose water, so you can figure out that in which ratio can crystallize more, which glucose to water ratio. Or here also you can see that in which case there is more crystallization depending on the fructose to glucose ratio. That's one of the things with the model sugar solution, So same thing over here, model solutions, fructose to glucose ratio, another analysis, and honey as well. You can see that 16.1% moisture in all these honey, even there is a crystallization of honey as well. So, and that all these samples were stored at 25 degrees Celsius. These are the just observation using simple microscope, okay, with this polarized light. Now, so these are the model sugar solution, okay, no crystal, model sugar solution. Now we are holding these sugar solutions with known composition at different temperature, 25 degrees Celsius for certain time, 5 degrees Celsius, sorry, 15 degrees Celsius for certain time, or here it shows 10, 5 degrees Celsius for certain time, holding at different temperature, okay, and even the fluctuating the temperature, how the crystallization occurs, so you can see simply, you can see that no crystal, you can see very fine crystals, you see all crystal over here, depending on the composition. So, and the temperature. You can see with different fructose to glucose ratio, 1, 1.2, 1.4, if you are holding at 25 degrees Celsius, there is a crystallization, okay? 15 degrees Celsius, there is a crystallization, 10 degree crystallization, 5 degree crystallization. So fructose to glucose ratio of 1, it crystallizes at all temperature, okay? It crystallizes at all temperature, that model sugar solution. If it is fructose to glucose ratio 1.2, doesn't crystallize at 25, but crystallizes at 15, 10, and 5 degree. Fructose to glucose ratio of 1.4 doesn't crystallize at all. So now coming back to the glucose to water ratio 1.7, it crystallizes only at 5 degree. And if it is glucose to water ratio of 1.93, crystallizes at 10 and 5, not at 15 and 20, 25. If it is glucose to water ratio, it crystallizes in all conditions. So that gives even better understanding how it crystallizes, how it behaves at different temperature. So now, when you are holding at 25, there is no crystallization. Okay, this is with the honey. Okay, before we are talking about a sugar solution, this is with the honey. If you hold that honey, okay, it did not crystallize at 25 degrees Celsius. Okay, but you drop the temperature to 10 degrees Celsius, hold it, and then it starts crystallizing. Okay, when it starts, and then hold back to 5, it crystallizes as well. So holding at 25 doesn't crystallize. Bring down to 10 degrees Celsius, same honey after 15 days, it starts crystallizing. But same honey, if you hold it at 5 degrees Celsius, right from the start, doesn't crystallize at all, no crystallization. The same honey doesn't crystallize at 5 degrees Celsius. If you keep it at 5 degrees Celsius, right from the start, doesn't crystallize. But same honey, 25 degree doesn't crystallize. But if you drop down to 15 degrees Celsius or 10 degrees Celsius, that it starts crystallizing. That means that that condition 25 to 10 degrees Celsius, perfect for the crystallization of honey, or it nucleates, okay? It nucleates at that temperature. So temperature is very important, okay? So that honey can crystallize the best at 15 degree or 10 to 15 degrees Celsius. So you can see that if you want to control the crystallization of honey, either you store at 5 degrees Celsius right from the start, no crystallization, or you store at 25 degrees Celsius, no crystallization. But if in case temperature drops to 10 to 15, it crystallizes. So it's important to understand that what temperature, how you control the temperature so that you can prevent the crystallization of honey. Now, that was with the honey. Now we try to store the one variety of resins, Thompson variety, which was the most sensitive to crystallization at 16% moisture. We hold it at different temperature, 5 degree, 15 degree, and 25 degrees Celsius, and put in the small container, yellow container like that, okay? We incubated at 5 degree, 15 degree, and 25 degree. At the same time, some of the sample, 5 degree and 15 degree for 1 month, and 25 degree for 4 months. That means that we kept it at 5 degree and 15 degree for 1 month, and 25 degree for 4 months after that, okay? Remember that before I told you that lower temperature is better for nucleation, higher temperature is better for the crystal growth. So if you want to nucleate the crystal, you have to store at lower temperature. So if you have got very tiny nucleates, you don't see any crystals. Even though there are crystals, you may not see them, okay? So what we did is, we try to store at lower temperature and then nucleate them and then hold it at higher temperature, because these are not the practical conditions, because they are not the practical condition when people are selling the product. Probably practical condition is 25 degrees Celsius. So we thought that we hold them 5 degree to 15 degrees Celsius to create very fine nucleus, because that promotes the nucleation, okay? Very, very tiny crystals. Even though you crystallize to very, very tiny crystals, even though they grow at higher temperature, the crystal size won't be that big. When the crystal sizes are not big, then the product quality will not be affected. So that we wanted to see practically. So you can see after 4 months, 5 degrees Celsius, 4 months, very good, no change, nothing you can see. 15 degrees Celsius for 4 months, not much change, little bit you can see crystal, but not much change. 25 degrees Celsius per month, you can see the crystals grown at the top. So it shows that definitely 25 degrees Celsius, the crystals grow, product is spoils, okay? Product is spoils at 25 degrees Celsius, if we store only at 25. But what we did is, we wanted to nucleate first at lower temperature. So we kept it at 1 month at 5 degrees Celsius, nucleated to very, very tiny crystal, and we kept it at 3 months at 25 degrees Celsius. Product quality is pretty good. Even though 25 degrees Celsius, nothing happened. Even though there is crystallization happening, but the crystallization, crystal growth, because you are nucleating beforehand, there are a lot of nucleus. So when they grow, they don't grow that big. So even though there are crystals, they are not growing on the surface. They are growing inside. They are not coming out. And then you don't see the product quality deterioration. Same thing we did at 1 month at 15 degrees Celsius, 3 months at 25 degrees Celsius. This was not as good as that one, but that was better, okay? So that means that it is possible to store at low temperature first to promote nucleation, and then it's fine. You can put the product outside. Even though there are crystals, they will not grow big. So same thing, we saw it by microscope, 15 days, 5 degree, there are crystals. 5 degree even, there are crystals. whether it is 25 degree, sorry, 5 degree there. Even though it is 5 degrees Celsius, there are crystals, glucose crystals. Even at 15 degrees Celsius, there are glucose crystals. You know, still there are crystals. It doesn't mean that there are no crystals. It crystallizes, but very, very small crystals. 25 degree, much worse. You know, you have got a lot of crystals, so very big crystals, very big crystal, you know, at 25 degrees Celsius. So, and then when the resins were nucleated at 5 degrees Celsius for 1 month and transported to 25 degrees Celsius, still there were crystals. You know, there were crystals in all the cases. Even 15 degrees Celsius, there were crystals. But these crystals, as compared to 5 degrees Celsius, at 15 degrees Celsius, there were bigger crystal, but there were crystals in all the cases. So when you look at the surface, you know, that's the most important thing. So if it is 4 months stored at 25 degrees Celsius, very big crystals on the surface. That was looking, appearance were very, very bad because there were so many crystals shown on the surface. 4 months at 15 degrees Celsius, less. 4 months at 5 degrees Celsius, there are crystals, but very, very tiny crystals. You cannot see directly. And 1 month at 5 degrees Celsius, 3 months, 5 degrees Celsius, and stored at 3 months after 5 degree for 3 months at 25 degrees Celsius. You can see very small crystals, and you know, there are some surface crystals, but they are not that serious. 15 degrees Celsius and 3 months at 25 degrees Celsius, you can see surface crystal as well. So you can see the surface crystals at 5 degrees Celsius is much, much less than at 25 and 15 degrees Celsius. And same thing you can do, you can analyze the crystals with the XRD, X-ray diffraction method. You can see those peaks are the crystallized glucose peak. They are the pure glucose, that peak. When you have got glucose crystallized in the sample, you can see the peak. So as the time goes, like that's 15 days, you have got peak. 30 days, you have got growing crystals, more and more bigger and bigger peaks you can see as the time passes through. This is just to show that there are crystals, you know, you can detect from X-ray diffraction as well. And those previous results we have shown for the Chilean resins. Now we analyze the Australian resins because Australian resins do not have any problem of surface crystallization. Doesn't mean that there were no crystals. Still there were a lot of crystals, you know, even on the surface, skinny maze, you know, of the Australian resins, but they were not that big. They were very small, okay? Even if you look at the XRD, X-ray diffraction, still you can see the crystals in Australian resins, but they didn't show any surface crystals. So that means there is something, even though they don't, even we talked to the Australian farmers, what they did to control the crystal size, they said that they didn't do anything. They don't know anything about it. But it was happening the way they were processing, drying, you know, there was already small crystals were created unknowingly. But the condition of drying and further processing in Chile was a bit different. That's what there was a creation of bigger crystals, sugar crystals in Chile. So in conclusion, with the project, you know, so XRD results showed that all resin flesh contains sugar crystals, although not visible with eyes. So that means that you cannot avoid crystallization. There is a lot of glucose, it will crystallize. Water activity for visual crystallization of resin on the skin. If the water activity is more than 0.55 and above, it enters to the danger zone. So you have to either maintain the water activity of less than 0.55 if you want to delay or slow the crystallization. Fructose to glucose ratio, okay? If it is less than 1.1, 1:1, there is a chance of crystallization. Glucose to water ratio, if it is more than 2.6, then there is 2.16, there is a chances of crystallization. Low temperature storage does not show any sugaring effect. Sugaring means surface crystal growth. Okay. So pre-nucleation by storing at 5 degrees Celsius for 1 to 2 months before storing to the room temperature reduces the sugaring or the surface crystallization. So that means that pre-nucleation is very important to prevent surface crystallization. So large number of nucleates may also be promoted by drying at low moisture and raising the moisture during processing, which is, we believe, practiced in Australia unknowingly. They don't do intentionally, but it's happening. Drying at low moisture because they dry to 13% moisture in the farm, and they raise the moisture content to 18% during processing, because that is promoting nucleation at low moisture and low temperature, and then there is no surface crystallization of the sugar or the glucose. Danger of skin sugaring may be avoided by providing ventilating hole in the plastic packing to avoid excess relative humidity buildup or even condensation during temperature fall. That means that when you are packing the sample in enclosed condition, if there is a temperature drop, in the head space, relative humidity inside will increase. So that may cause the crystallization. To avoid that one, you can make a hole in the packaging container. That will remove the extra moisture from the head space and can prevent the crystallization. So that was the last slide of my presentation. And before ending the presentation, I would like to thank the research team, Sergio, Paulina from Chile. They were the main researcher from Chile, and my postdoc Tuin Trong at the time, and Deepa, she was a research assistant as well, and of course Chris from Chile, University Technical Federico Santa Maria was the participant university in Chile. And I would like to also thank Mark King, which was chairman of Dried Fruit Australia, who helped me to visit the place where the Australia grows the raisins, the produce the raisins, Frutexa Chile, Natural Chile for providing sample, and other companies in the Chile who helped me to make this presentation happen. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Any question now?
Yes, I will open the Q&A section. Bryce?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the very interesting topic. I think there are some questions here. Maybe the first one, Ibu Omega, Maria Omega. Ibu Maria Omega, are you there? Can you please ask the questions directly, Ibu Maria? Not here yet. Okay, while waiting for Ibu Maria, I think Pak Kiki Fibrianto, please.
Yes, thank you, Bu Hotnida. Bess, I think I have a few questions.
Yeah.
It was an interesting presentations. Considering the low temperature storage, do you reckon that once we put prepare the raisins in the low temperature storage below 5 degrees Celsius, when it's come to the market, it will come to the room temperature, for example, and we normally I don't know, it's the I think it's the habit for everyone or not, but mostly we throw everything back in the fridge. Will it be possible that the crystal will grow when we put it back into fridge during the storage after you know, like in the market, it's stored in the room temperature.
Yeah, there is a possibility, but what will happen if you are? It's already at 5 degrees Celsius nucleated. In the market at 25 degrees Celsius, all the crystal growth will happen already. You know, everything
Okay.
would have been crystallized, whatever possible. So there is a
Okay.
chance that there won't be any, because it's all consumed. You know, there is already formation of all crystals. So all the excess glucose has been crystallized. So there won't be anything happening, most probably.
Okay. Okay, and one more thing, that you told us that by just lowering the storage temperature at 5 degrees Celsius, it will reduce the existence of big crystals in the surface of
Yeah,
the raisins.
yeah.
Is that possible that if we also increase the speed of cooling? Because I believe that your study is in steady cooled room. What about if there is if there is what we call it a blow of cooling cooling method? Will it be possible to reduce the size of the crystal as well?
Probably not, because you know that happens with the fresh fruits and vegetable, because that in that case is water crystallizing. Okay.
Okay.
But in this case, it's already very viscous system, like a you know, it's already dried fruit, so it's very viscous. So it takes time to nucleate as well, because you know, for that one the glucose molecules have to move and then aggregate. So it's a viscosity limited already. So
Okay.
even though you cool it down very fast, it may not happen. It happens with the
With
other
the
fresh
with
fruits
water,
and vegetables. Yeah, water.
with rich in water,
Yeah, yeah.
with the system rich in water.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Thank you for your
Welcome.
confirmations.
Thank you, Pak Kiki. I think that's another questions, please. Oh, Ibu Maria Omega. Oh, she's here. Maria. Oh, you are from Canada, aren't you? Oh, wow. I should say hello to you before. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Ibu Maria. We still
Hello?
can't hear you, Maria. Okay.
Hello, Maria. No, I can't hear anything.
Neither do I. I think maybe her connections.
No, Bu Maria, you may not use your yes.
Yeah, you
Your
hear me?
headset. Yes, now,
Yeah,
yes,
I
yes, we
can hear
can.
you.
Okay.
Yeah, I just have two questions. If they can make cream honey to have less liquid, can we make other fruits like figs, raisins, and dates to be creamed? And then the second questions, if we use or add caramel, maple syrup, or brown sugar, coconut sugar, or stevia to replace the fruit's white sugar, are they harder or easier to crystallize, to be crystallized? If we add something like a caramelized dry fruit, caramelized maple syrup flavor for the figs, brown sugar for the dates, and or coconut sugar or stevia to replace the white sugar, or the natural fruit sugar from the from the fruits. Is it harder or easier?
Crystallize what? Crystallize.
If we add something like caramel, add sugar added, not the
to what?
to dry fruits, to the dates, to the figs, to the raisins.
Yeah.
We
So
add caramel.
it all depends. You know, like caramel will be hydrolyzed sugar. You know, so it may prevent the crystallization of glucose, because you are putting even more of a caramelized condition. But in some cases, if you put the sugar, it crystallizes the sucrose. You know, like you have got a problem of the glucose. Like in other sugar, if it is a sucrose, Sometimes they put the sugar from sugar, and that sugar crystallizes. They put the extra sugar as a sucrose, and that crystallizes. But when you put more invert sugar, there is a less chance of crystallizing glucose. Because remember that it's the glucose which crystallizes. If you put sucrose, then that sucrose itself will crystallize.
Oh, just the sucrose.
Yes, sucrose will crystallize. So what you are putting, what sort of sugar you are putting, you know?
I have a caramel, maple syrup, brown sugar, coconut sugar, or stevia.
Stevia is not a sugar in terms of sucrose, you know.
Oh,
it's a different type of sugar. But the caramel is it's like a polymerized, and maple syrup doesn't have as much sugar. So they may not crystallize, and it may dilute the glucose, which crystallizes. Okay, so it may have less crystallization.
Okay, and the second one, if we have we make the honey to be creamed honey with a cinnamon flavor, is it difficult to crystallize also?
If you put cinnamon flavor?
Yeah, cinnamon cream honey.
Yeah, no problem, because cinnamon flavor will be some volatile, right? Like a flavor oil or something. So I think what you want to put cinnamon powder, or what sort of thing you want to put?
As when we make the creamed honey, add with a little bit milk cream, and the first flavor we add cream, and the second flavor
what form of flavor? Like is it a liquid flavor or the powder?
Yeah, from liquid honey we put the liquid caramel, not caramel, liquid cinnamon.
Yeah, it may not affect that much.
Oh.
Yeah, because you are putting very small amount of flavor, isn't it? Very tiny amount. You don't have to put too much. The amount of the flavor you put is in milliliter, you know, very small amount.
Yeah.
Unless you put a lot, that's another thing. I don't think we are putting too much flavor. So you'll be putting few ml, few milliliter of flavor, so it may not affect.
Okay, so it's
okay.
It's okay, right, right. Yeah. Cream honey also is okay, right?
Yeah.
We put cream a little bit.
What sort of cream?
Milk cream.
Why?
To make the honey more flavor and more thicker.
I never heard about that. Do they sell product, or I never? Yeah, it could be possible. It could be possible.
I asked.
Have you made that sort of product, or like you are thinking to have that sort of product?
It's already been product, but we want to make a little bit new with the cinnamon cream honey.
Okay. So there is a fat there, probably cream. Because with the cream you may put a little bit of water. Okay, so what sort of water content you are putting together with cream, that depends, you know, how it dilutes the sugar, you know.
Right.
Because you know, like in honey there is a 16% moisture, or 16 to 18% moisture. When you put a small amount of cream has got some moisture. Right. If that moisture dilutes and increases the moisture content, that will affect crystallization.
Okay.
Untung bisa lagi aku masuk kan.
Okay, right.
Is it? I did not know that sort of product exists.
Yeah.
Can you buy that sort of product in the market?
Yes, it's a local products.
Fantastic.
Yeah, to reduce the local allergy. So local honey for local allergy cases in here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, from local bees. Okay. Thank you so much, Professor.
Where you are from? Canada, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Maria.
Okay, thank you, Maria.
Yeah. You're welcome.
I think you need to introduce yourself first before asking Basil. He knows who you are.
Yeah,
Maria is
UQ
alumni as well. Please introduce yourself. Yes.
So did you do master here at UQ?
I did a different background. I did biotechnology with Professor Rotsbanat. I crystallized not the sugar but the protein.
Okay.
Yeah, it's different. Plant protein, lectin protein.
Okay.
Yeah, we purify first the protein and we crystallized in AMB.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so you moved to Canada. Are you doing PhD or are you living
No,
here?
I working. I'm working
In Canada. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Good to talk to you, Maria. Yeah.
Nice to talk to you too, Professor Bandari.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Maria.
You're welcome.
Oh, Maria, I don't think that's enough to introduce yourself, only saying Canada.
Where Canada? Which organization?
Yeah,
Where?
that's not enough. Please,
Yeah.
just please the details.
Oh, I live in Abbotsford, BC, Canada. I work in once I teach Kumon and it's reading and math skills for kids. Also, I work in part time in I'm a sales advisor in food department. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Thank you, Ibu Maria. I think it was my fault. Even Pak Kiki, I forgot. You need to introduce yourself as well, Pak Kiki. Please.
Well, currently I'm a chief investigator at Brawijaya Senso Gastronomy Center at Universitas Brawijaya, and I was lucky to be supervised by Professor Bes Bandari when I did my master degree and my PhD. So yes, I think that's all.
Thank you, Pak Kiki. The next person will be Agnesia. Please introduce yourself first.
Thank you, Kak Hornida. Hi, Professor Bes.
Hi, Agnesia.
Yeah, it's me, Agnes, again from Palangkaraya, Poltekkes Palangkaraya. So it is an interesting topic, and I'm quite curious about making the raisin, because in Borneo, I live in Borneo Island in Indonesia. We have sort of a local grape, but it lives in forest, so it's like a plant from forest. And previously you said that
You mean it's a wild variety?
yes, wild variety.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So previously you said that it is preferable to keep the ratio of fructose and glucose to 1.5. And is there any specific way to maintain the fructose and the glucose level in the grape, the fresh grape itself, before or after harvesting process?
No, you can't. It's a natural composition, okay?
Okay.
It will help to understand, it will help to select the correct variety, if you want to prevent the crystallization, but you cannot change the composition.
Oh, okay. So
you are able to submerge in fructose solution, okay? But that's not economical, and it's not, it's not good.
Oh.
So only the thing is that, if you want to do that, control the temperature conditions or choose the variety which has got the desirable composition.
How to put like ethylene gas to the ethylene gas?
Yeah.
Ethylene.
How to put?
No, I mean, if we put the ethylene gas, it will maybe increase the fructose level or not?
No, it will not, because it's a genetic factor.
Okay.
I don't think it may change a little bit. I'm not sure. I'm not in that area. But how the chemicals or the composition is synthesized is a genetic factor mostly. So.
Okay, thank you. So we have to investigate how to choose the good variety that.
Yeah. But you may not have choice, right? You may have just a couple of varieties, right? You may not have that much choice.
Yeah.
So at the very, very small wild varieties will have very small fruit, small size.
Yes, small size.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you,
Okay,
Bess.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Agnesia. Bess, I think you need to stop the share screen so everyone can see you clearly. Okay, that's better. Thank you, Bess. Okay, thank you very much. So it means that depend on the variety of the wine that we can make it. Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's original.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right. Yeah, you can make wine if you.
Yes, because the important thing is the ratio between glucose and fructose.
Yeah.
And glucose and water.
Water, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Bess. The next one, Ibu Nani, silakan Ibu Nani.
Thank you, Bu Hadnisa. Hello, Bess. It's me again.
Hi, Nani. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope you remember me now.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, maybe I will introduce again myself. My name is Sri Anwar. So I currently teach at the University of Syed Kuala from Department of Agriculture Product Technology. I would like to ask some question to you, Bess. I didn't really catch the problem with chili that you used previously. So for your conclusion that you recommend to store the resin at low temperature to creation, right?
Yeah.
So is this problem will solve the problem in Chile, or I don't know, how do you solve the problem in Europe?
Yeah, this will solve the problem. Yes, this is one of the solutions. Okay. So that we identified that if you can afford, because sometimes the amount of the resins is so much, and they need refrigeration facility as well. You know, so that's one of the solutions that they can practice. But we did some other work, that other method of controlling the crystallization. So that I didn't present it here. So so there is another method as well. So they can take either of two.
I see. Okay.
So they were pretty happy because we visited there and then they saw the result. They say that okay, maybe that's the solution that they are going to practice, because we're working with the industry, Frutexa in Chile. So they were pretty happy of the result.
I see. Okay. So do you think for the problem of sugar crystallization, is there any factor affected this problem which came from the drying process itself, or the variety of grapes that grown before?
I mean, the variety, they cannot, they normally use 3 varieties, okay? The drying process, they do mostly sun drying, okay? They don't have controlled drying.
Yeah.
And then, like in Australia, there's more controlled drying, they do the final drying to 13% moisture, but in that case, in Chile, they don't do the mechanical drying. They do mostly sun drying, So as soon as you do mechanical drying, it becomes very expensive. Mainly, it's not affordable at the moment. So that's not the solution for them.
Okay, I see. One more question. So if your recommendation will be a storage at 5 degrees Celsius,
yeah,
would that be add to the cost? Because it must be stored at a spatial storage, right?
Sure. So it will add the cost, yes.
Okay, so but that's no problem for them.
At the moment, there is still a problem because they need because when I visited the factory, there was no cold room.
I see.
So they have to put the cold room, and they have a tons and tons product. Because they export, so they need huge size of the cold room. In fact, cold storage room. So that will add the cost. So whether they apply our knowledge or not, our solution or not, that's up to them. It's feasible, but so whether that's cost-wise, if they can afford or not, I don't know. But eventually they will do that in future, probably.
Okay, thank you, Bess. So your presentation with the graph is really remind me of your lecture when I did my master long time ago.
Oh,
because
thank you.
You taught us about the BET graph, right? So during the food technology. So BET, remember?
Oh, BET, yeah, BET model, yes.
So that's your specialized. So I really want to know about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for
Thank you.
Okay. See you, Nani. Thanks.
Thank you, Bu Nani. Any questions, please? Yeah, we still have around 10 to 20 minutes if you have any questions, but I think this is very interesting because between Australia, say that Sydney or Brisbane, they have like similar latitude with Chile, but for the product, for the raisin, they are different behavior, aren't they? Because like you said that you don't have that problem in Australia, but over there they might, dry and sugar crystallization.
Yeah. That's one reason is because in both cases sugar crystallizes in Australia as well as they have, but I think the drying practice and the variety it's a bit different. I would think that if they dry same way as in Australia, probably they may not have that much problem. But drying is the major cost because they have to dry from fresh grape to very low moisture, and they do on all sun drying in Chile, on the field, huge area. So mechanical drying is not feasible at the moment.
How long is usually be for the drying, for the sun drying?
Almost like 2 months. Very long.
Very long time.
Yeah, because it's a big berry, it has to really dry very long.
Thank you, Bess. I think we have from Ibu Novia Mera. Please, Ibu Novia.
Oh, yeah, Novia.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ms.
Yeah.
Khalida. Hello, Professor Bandari.
Hi, Novia.
Nice to meet you again virtually. Okay. Okay. Firstly, I would like to introduce myself to others participants. My name is Novia Mehra Erviza. I work as a lecturer at Department of Agricultural Product Technology in Universitas Syah Kuala, Aceh. So it's really a great chance to meet Professor Bess Bandari in this Zoom webinar. I would like to ask some question, Prof, because in Indonesia, raisin is not a main product because in Indonesia we have more kind of fruits. So in Indonesia we mostly add some sugar to fruits, or we soak the fruit in the sugar solutions. So it has a different process with the raisin and also with dates and fig. So I would like to ask you, what do you think about the crystallization process if we add sugar or we soak the fruit in the sugar solution? So do you think that the crystallization process will be same as the sugaring process in raisin? Do you think?
Yeah.
And then my my second question. Okay. So because in Indonesia we have many kind of fruit. Are there any requirements for kind of fruit which we can dry as well as raisin and fig like sugar content in the fresh fruit or total solid content, or etc. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Novia. The first question is, if you are soaking the fruit in the sugar solution, it all depends on what type of sugar solution, and mostly, I suppose, it's a normal table sugar like a sucrose, okay? And you have seen that many dried fruit soaked in the sucrose solution have got crystals around them, you know, like you can see many dried fruits have got small crystals around them. So it's the same mechanism of crystallization, of supersaturation, crystallization on the surface, but the type of the sugar is different, because we are talking about natural sugar in fruits like glucose, but the sugar crystallization in dipped or submerged fruit is sucrose crystallizing on the surface. And in most of the cases, sucrose crystallized in the dried fruit in the market, they look quite and quite acceptable, you know, like it's accepted already. So it's not like an uncontrolled type of glucose crystals, you know, looks like moldy appearance or something. It doesn't happen normally when you submerge the sucrose, because on the surface is very homogeneously crystallized. So although the mechanism is same, like a supersaturation, and but the type of the sugar is different, and it's already acceptable. If it is submerged and crystallized, it looks nicer probably from outside. I have seen some fruit where you know, like impregnated with sugar. You know, like they don't look like a fruit actually, but you know, like you can see ginger or some other fruit, you know, candied type of thing. You know, they are not really fruit directly. Like you can see apricot, you know, or mango, or popo, you know, the dried fruit. In fact, they impregnate in sugar, but they lose, they don't have any taste, you know, they are all sugar and very little flavor.
Yeah.
And then you can see some crystals on top of them, of the sucrose. And your second question was, sorry, I forgot, because.
Okay, best. My second question is, are there any requirement for kind of fruits that we can dry as well as raisin and fig, such as sugar content in the fresh fruit?
No, there is no requirement. I mean, like I mean, you know that grapes is very sugary, contains a lot of sugar. You can see just beginning with, it has got 22% sugar. But many other fruits may not have that much sugar. They are slightly acidic. There is no requirement. You can dry any fruit. And most of the time, there is no problem with other fruit, like if you dry mango or popo, I have never seen any, unless you impregnate with sugar. If you dry naturally, I have never seen that problem of crystallization of glucose in those fruits, other than pig, date, and then raisins, you know. I have not seen any other fruit where there is an issue.
Okay, I think it's a challenging to try for other kind of fruit in Indonesia.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for.
Slide, Novia. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Ibu Maria, she has one more question, please. Maria Omega.
Yeah, I have one more question.
Yeah, Maria.
Yeah. What are the differences for this process, the crystallization process, if we use white raisins, red raisins, or chocolate raisins, Or if we use another berries, cherries or apricots, they have differences?
White raisins, red raisins. It all depends on the composition. You know, like how, you know, like normally, you know, those golden raisins, golden.
Yeah.
That one, that's made from white raisins. In a golden variety. The process of making them is a bit different.
Oh, they're different, right?
Yeah, they are different. So there is actually in those raisins there is no problem of crystallization, because they are dried differently. They are more expensive.
Yeah.
They are dried differently. They are dried in the very high temperature, and then they fumigate with sulfur. You know, so they discolor actually.
Yeah.
They discolor. That's why they look yellow and golden. You know.
Oh, yellow and golden. Yeah.
Yeah. So
if we add
different.
the chocolate.
You want to cover with the chocolate?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that. After
powder.
drying, after drying, you don't have to. Really good idea that you dip the raisins into the chocolate.
Yes.
There is no issue of crystallization of sugar in the raisins, because that now you have to control the crystallization of chocolate.
Okay.
Because chocolate will cover the raisins.
Okay. What about if I use another type of fruits like berries, cherry, or apricots?
You mean the chocolate?
No, the crystallization for berry, cherry, and apricots.
There is no, there is no, because they won't create. I mean, as I said it, that the crystallization problem is only with fruits like raisins, date, fig, you know, that sort of thing. I think the other berries do not have that sort of issue.
Cherry and apricots the same?
No, there is no problem. There is no problem because the composition is different. Because you know that I mentioned you that honey has got same composition as resin. Okay? Same resin, honey has got problem of crystallization.
Right.
And resin also, because they have got similar composition. If the composition is different.
Oh, the composition different, yeah.
Different, it will not happen.
Okay, it's not happen. Okay. Yeah. I understand now. Different types of fruits, different. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Different composition will, different fruit, different, different problem. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Maria,
thank you, Maria. Do we have more questions, please? Yeah. Maybe a very simple one, Bess. Like in your presentation, you have the data with different water activity. How did you create the condition during the experiment?
So just in the desiccator, you know, like you have seen that, you know, in the desiccator you create the salt saturated with saturated salts, you know, and just equilibrate the sample in the desiccator with given saturated salt solution.
Yeah, thank you, Bess. Maybe Malik did this one last time with the different desiccator.
You didn't do that? Okay, Malik, he was working with rice. Probably he didn't.
Okay. Yeah.
Other people were. There were a lot of desiccators in our lab, so you can see those people who are working in the powder, milk powder.
Yes.
Probably they did that. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Bess. Please allow me for 2 or 3 minutes to make a bit conclusion about what we were talking now.
Okay, thank you.
In our bahasa.
Alright.
Oke, terima kasih semuanya untuk yang hadir di sini. Jadi kira-kira apa yang dibicarakan oleh Prof. Bess adalah tentang raisin yang kita sering katakan kismis ya. Tapi saya kira juga kurma memiliki behavior yang sama ya. Jadi kan kadang-kadang kalau kurma itu sudah lama kan bisa kelihatan dia sangat kering ya. Pernah kita lihat ya, dia sangat kering kemudian agak kuning-kuning atau kadang-kadang memutih, kemudian dia kelihatan sekali berbeda dengan yang segarnya. Nah, di sini dikatakan bahwa kenapa itu bisa terjadi? Terjadinya itu adalah karena gulanya mengkristal, ya. Nah, gulanya itu mengkristal itu disebabkan oleh komposisi dari gulanya. Jadi maksud saya gula di sini adalah terutama glukosa dengan fruktosanya. Jadi kalau misalnya glukosa dengan fruktosa 1, kemudian antara glukosa dengan air 2,16 ya. Jadi itu dipengaruhi oleh rasio ini sehingga tidak semua buah mengalami kristalisasi. Nah, kemudian tadi kalau kita lihat beberapa penelitian dilakukan Prof. Bes, itu bagaimana caranya supaya kristal ini tidak terjadi? Beliau itu membuat pertama sekali dia disimpan pada suhu rendah. Karena kalau suhu rendah yang terjadi bukan kristal tapi nukleus, ya, nukleus yang lebih kecil. Ya, tapi kalau suhunya lebih tinggi yang akan terjadi adalah kristal. Nah, jadi tadi itu dilihat dari tadi kan ada suhu transisi gelas ya. Dari situ kita bisa mengetahui suhu berapa dia menjadi nukleus, ya, berapa yang kristal. Jadi ini umumnya adalah suhu yang lebih rendah jadi nukleus dan yang suhu lebih tinggi kristal. Jadi kalau kita sudah mengetahui suhu ini, maka kita bisa lebih tahu kita maunya yang bentuk kristalnya atau yang bentuk nukleusnya. Ya, nah kira-kira itu sedikit banyak apa yang dibicarakan, dan tadi banyak pertanyaan adalah bagaimana kalau jenis makanannya berbeda. Nah, Ibu Maria terima kasih ya. Jadi saya juga tahu makanan lokalnya orang Kanada di sana. Saya juga nggak pernah dengar tadi produknya apa. Terima kasih ya Ibu Maria. Terima kasih. Jadi
sama-sama.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bes. So before we close this event, I will give this back to Master of Ceremony. Siti, please.
Yes, Ms. Farida, thank you so much. And that was the lecture from Professor Bes Bandari. Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank you, Siti.
That is very interesting. Yeah, I do believe that all of us get a new insight, new information and knowledge about the crystallizations of sugar in raisins. Okay, I think we've come to the end of our event today. To all participants that have already joined our meeting today, thank you so much for your participations. Your attendance is really mean to us. But don't forget to fill the presence link that we've already on the chat box. And then the certificate for our meeting today will be sent to your email next week.
Thank you.
Then finally, to close this event, with all my heart, I do apologize for any imperfections and any mistakes that happened today. I wish you all got a pleasant day. Thank you so much, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you.
Siti, boleh foto lagi, Siti?
Oh yeah. Okay. For the last, let's take some pictures again. Please turn on the camera to all participants. Okay, we're gonna take some pictures again. On my count, 3, 2, 1, cheese. Once again, 3, 2, 1, cheese. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Siti. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Bes. Have a nice day.
Bye, Maria, Novia.
Thank you, bye,
Thank
Prof.
you.
Bandari. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Stay healthy.
See you soon, Prof. Bes Bandari.
Thank you.
Bu Maria, jangan keluar dulu.
Bu Honida, makasih ya.
Sama-sama, itu saya kaget tuh Maria tadi datang. Mana dia udah pergi?
Udah kabur dia, Bu.
Siti izin ya, Ibu.
Oh iya, silakan. Terima kasih ya.
Iya, Ibu. Permisi, selamat siang, Ibu.
Izin keluar ya, Bu Anida.
Silakan. Terima kasih semuanya.
Bu Nida, kalau buat kegiatan webinar lagi kabari ya.
Oh iya, thank you. Ini karena kita punya kesempatan dapat WCU. Ya, jadi ya itu dimanfaatkan itu aja.
Sukses Bu, untuk
Saya
mudah-mudahan.
kemarin minta Prof Bes untuk membuat apa yang kita ceritakan spray drying. Ya kan, nanti saya bilang beliau bersedia enggak supaya saya minta lagi satu topik. Ternyata beliau mau, itu kan biasa akhir tahun mereka ini ke apa namanya overseas.
Ya liburan
Jadi
ya.
jadi dia enggak bisa lagi. Senin udah enggak bisa gitu. Aduh sayang juga ya, saya pikir gitu. Nantilah tahun depan, dia bilang. Saya pikir dalam hati, iya kalau ada WCU lagi.
Ya mudah-mudahan dapat lagi Bu.
Amin, mudah-mudahan. Ini mana Dek? Dek siapa yang dari Surabaya?
Winda
enggak kelihatan.
Ya Winda dia katanya buru-buru juga, dia ada seminar mahasiswa. Jadi tadi cuma di awal aja sempat ikut gitu sebentar.
Oh ya, oke.
Ragu jadwalnya jam
ada. Kenapa?
Oke. Baik Bu Nida, saya pamit juga ya.
Oke, terima kasih ya. Penting kita udah punya grup, silahkan ditambah kalau mau ada yang nambah. Makasih Bu Novia ya. Kabar-kabarin ya semuanya. Siapa tahu di Unsia ada juga.
Iya Bu, oke.
Makasih.
Ya Bu, ya.